Are you over small talk? Do you crave those late night deep conversations? Where do you go? I don't know about you, but I want to get right into the heart of things. Welcome to Deep Convos Only, your guide to mental and spiritual alignment. Let's dive into spirituality, how the mind works, and what awakens our soul. I'm your conscious host, Monica Adams. Let's get deep. Welcome to Deep Convos Only. And as my introduction, I first want to say you're such a beautiful human being before I get to your title and what it is you do in this world. But we hit it off so quickly, became fast friends, and you have been a pillar in my life, honestly. I know that if I just call you up, you'll answer no matter where you are. And tell me the things I need to hear. So thank you for just being yourself and being such a lovely person. And you are a relationship coach, and you are a healer. You have, your emotional mastery. You also are just one of the realest people on Instagram. I love all the things that you're posting and all the things that you share. And I know you do a bunch of different things. You have workshops, you have courses, you do coaching. So welcome to the podcast. I want to dive in because relationships are a big topic. But thank you for coming on. And if there's anything you want to add to your intro about all the beautiful, magical things that you're up to, go right ahead.
Well, how much time we got? No, I'm joking. I'm pretty great, and I'm excited to be here. So let's just do it.
Let's dive in. Yeah. So I did ask the community some questions. I let them know I'm speaking with a conscious relationship expert. What is it you want to know? So first and foremost, I wanted to just dive in first on the dating scene. So we have some people that are single. They're looking for partnerships. They're out there. And one question I got, which is so fitting for you because you do have this level of emotional mastery, is she asked about emotional unavailability. So how you can identify that within yourself. If you are really emotional unavailable, maybe you're on this dating scene and you really maybe need to do some more self-love and self-discovery. And second part is how to handle it when someone else that you're interested in is emotionally unavailable. So what are your thoughts?
So self-awareness is huge. You have to be aware of yourself first. And I think self-awareness is the biggest key to any growth. You need to have that first. So make sure that you are emotionally available before you start dating and going into other people's lives and building a partnership. If you're not emotionally available for the commitment of it, and you're looking for, and people are expressing that they're looking for commitment, you need to be real and honest. So part of that is being honest with yourself. Now, I've been through a period of my life where I didn't know what emotional unavailability was because I was always so available, I thought, right? I was just always present and I'm always there and I'm always giving and I'm so loving. Why don't you love me back? That was me. I was extremely codependent and needy. And I thought it was love, but it was just neediness. I was filling a void in myself. And so when I started to have the awareness that was what was happening, is really where I started to do the work on myself. Now, I love this question because it's geared around how do I know if I'm emotionally unavailable? Now, multiple things could have brought up why you're asking this question, the person who asked it, because it could have been somebody told you and then you're like, wait, am I emotionally unavailable? And I just want you, it's good to just check in with yourself. It's how are you holding you? Where are you at in terms of, can you hold space for not just yourself, but another person in their infinite wonder? We're crazy beings. So are you meeting yourself? Are you respecting yourself? Are you loving yourself? Are you holding your boundaries? Are you doing the self-care stuff? If you're not there for you, you cannot be there for somebody else. You can show up and have sex and talk with them and whatever, but I'm talking building a really strong conscious relationship. You can't do it. And so you might connect on just connection, which is, I guess, the base level of a relationship. But if you really want to dive deeper with somebody, you have to go deep within yourself. You can only go as deep with others as you've gone deep within yourself. And also, just a word that might help is that everything is seasonal. So I went through a season the end of 2019 where I was completely unemotionally available. emotionally unavailable. And I knew it. So I didn't even open the door with anybody. Like, somebody showed me attention and I thought they were hot. Like, sorry, no, I'm not going to put myself in that situation. I can't hold myself. I'm not going to draw you into this.
Right.
And somebody's going to be like, oh, well, I can help you, or I can heal you, or I can whatever. And you don't want to play savior victim either. So I've just had the level of self-awareness and discipline enough, and really self-respect and honoring my word to just say, I need to be okay for myself right now.
Totally. Yeah, that level of integrity to have that.
Yeah, and just respectfully shut down any of the opportunities that presented themselves. And then how do you know if somebody else is emotionally unavailable? You kind of look at what they're doing, not what they're saying. Because if they're saying, I want a relationship, you're my one, like, let's get married, let's do this thing, great. You've wanted to hear that since you were little, but like, what are they doing? What are their actions? And getting rid of the fairy tale, getting rid of the fantasy. Look at the reality of how are they showing up right now in their life without you? Because all you big-hearted empaths out there are going to want to come in and save the day. That's what I was doing. And it's like, you have to look at where are they at right now in their life, and do they see their own potential? Are they like going towards that themselves right now, or are you trying to help them see their potential and help them rise to it without them? Like, you can't make somebody something that they don't want to become yet. So make sure of that. And it really is awareness of the other person. How are they holding themselves? You know, what's their relationship like in their own head? Are they beating themselves up constantly? Everybody has their vices. Like, don't get me wrong, but just be curious about how they're showing up for themselves. And if there's not a lot of self-honor and self-respect in like a healthy way, then that shows you the capacity at which they can hold a relationship.
I love that. Yeah. And the only thing I would add to that, or bounce off of, is this idea. I totally got this from Teal Swan, and I absolutely loved it. She said, you know, don't fall in love with potential. Fall in love with who they are now. Don't fall in love with who they can become, because that's what love is. It's loving, I love you for who you are right in this moment, not who you may or may not become later down the road. So I think that's so important. And also, you know, you kind of touched on this too, is the alignment. You know, how do they carry themselves? Do they have the same values of you as you? Do you see yourself growing together or not, you know? And really, how are they showing up for you too? So it's so true. So many of us see the potential and fall in love with the potential, and we have to get real, you know? We have to come to reality and not live in the fairy tale that we've been fed for so long. That's really could be damaging. I love that. Beautiful. I hope that serves you. So this one was funny. So we have a question here from Maddie, and she asked if you, Kevin, could create a dating website for single woke men.
Okay, well, there's something like that in the works, but I can't talk about it.
I love it. But, so obviously where she's going is, I think, you know, she's single, she's doing the work, she feels good, and she's ready to really date. So where can you find other like-minded people?
Where'd all the real men go? Where are all the good men? Well, you know what we did is we actually, like, there's a group chat, and we all went to this island out in the Pacific to hide from all of you guys. No, like, we didn't all just up and leave. It's your vibe attracts your tribe. And so if you really take that to heart, what's showing up for you in your love life is a mirror for how you're showing up for yourself.
Yep.
And that's just a really harsh truth that sometimes can be a hard pill to swallow. Like, if you keep there's the pattern showing up in your love life, that pattern's not chance. You don't hulk yourself to choosing different. It's showing you something internally, and your brain just wants to be right. So your brain's looking at the situation going, see, all men are cheaters. See, I'm not good enough. See, I'm too much. See, they always leave me, whatever it is. And you're looking to just create that belief that you have about yourself and your self-worth and love and relationships over and over again. So looking at your life in a non-judgmental awareness and just saying, wow, okay, this is what's happening. Well, that's probably because I have this belief from when, you know, I was younger or with all of my exes, whatever. That's the invitation to do the work on yourself. Because if you're not attracting the one right now, or even people that are closer to the one, it's showing you a lot about where you're at internally. It's not just a place you go, or it's not just some things that you say to get the right person. It really is matching you. If you want a conscious relationship, especially with talking in this situation, she's looking for a guy. If you're looking for a conscious man, there's going to be no hiding. You can't hide from him in a conscious relationship. You can't hide sides of yourself. You're playing games isn't going to fucking work. So you really have to, like, step up your game, and he's going to be able to spot that stuff out from a mile away and won't find you energetically attractive.
Yeah, and
Or anything else, right? So it's really is putting the mirror on you.
Yeah, and once you I know you touch on this so much, right? To be in a relationship, it is internal. It's really that self-love, the relationship you have with yourself, how you're holding yourself. I love all of that. And it only makes sense that if you are doing what's best for you, if you're going to the places that make you happy, that bring you joy, and you're not with any expectations, just because you enjoy going to that particular cafe or this particular workshop, you are in already the energy with the people that are of that vibration, that are also attracted to that. And you might not meet him immediately at those places, but you might make a friend whose cousin you end up meeting down the road. So just being open to the possibilities.
I want to speak on that real fast, because there's some, you could be sitting in meditation and doing all these like mantras and chants and trying to call in the right partner, but if you're not out in the world opening your mouth and talking with people around you, it's not going to happen. God works through people.
Preach. I love that.
So I had this quote. I got heated one day, and I was like, Prince Charming's not going to bust through your wall like the fucking Kool-Aid man and come find you and save you from your misery. Like, you've got to interact with the world around you, and it's so true. Like, open your mouth to the person in the elevator. Like, just say hi. Be a kind person. And in that, like you said, it may be their best friend. Right. It may not be the actual person. So just being out in the world and meeting cool people.
Absolutely. And sometimes the best pickup line is exactly what you said. Hi, smiling. Yeah. Like, you don't have to think of this elaborate, like even the word pickup line, right? Like, you can kind of toss that to the side. It's just sparking up a conversation and making it less intimidating for yourself. So that kind of leads into this next question. So let's say you meet someone, you're dating, it's you hitting it off, you're going off well. How can you dive deeper, and how can you build a bond outside of just, the surface level? How can you go from this is going great to, you know what, let's build a deeper bond. Let's really get to know each other on a deeper level. Is it just conversations? Is there things you can do together?
A lot of it is, I'll say a few things. First thing that comes to my mind is you got to know what you want, and not just in a partner, but in the relationship, in the connection. How does it feel to be around this person? It's really important that you have the energeticness of the connection and of the other person, and like some of the stuff that you don't really think about, like what is this person saying about you behind your back? Is it positive? Is it negative? What are their friends? Who are they hanging out around? Because that tells you a lot about themselves. You are who you hang out with. So looking at your friend group as well, and looking to become the right person for that right person, but having some awareness of like what that connection is going to feel like, look like. So knowing what you want is literally step one. And sometimes we try to make it work with that one person because we just want to make it work because love's scarce and this is my one shot. Nobody's ever loved me like this. What do you want for yourself? And start there. Now, if you do want to dive deeper, you're recognizing, oh shit, this is like the right container. I'm feeling like this could go somewhere. Let's dive deeper. We connect through our darkness, not our light. So it's all great and fun and dandy to be talking about lightness and all these fun things and doing fun stuff together. But your best friend is your best friend, and your deepest connections are your deepest connections because of your shadow and because of your deep, dark secrets, if you will. So being vulnerable, share, hey, this is what my love life has been like. This is the wounds that I'm carrying and that I'm unpacking. This is the stuff that was most embarrassing to me. This is my deepest secret, like stuff like that. It really is kind of elementary because, when you share your deep secrets to somebody, they become your best friend. Is kind of like an elementary thing, but it is so true. So we usually connect on that. Being vulnerable is what's going to allow it to go deeper. And usually we have this heart up and or our guard up around our heart, I should say, in dating and relationships where you're like, prove yourself, like, don't hurt me. Prove, because you've been hurt so much. So you're showing up as your hurt and not your heart. And you're just like, prove yourself. Like, what are you going to do so that I can feel okay to be around you? I just want to be safe around you. And instead of having the courage to live with an open heart and just say, you know what, this is how it is. And so sometimes that does mean being bold and courageous and being vulnerable first.
Absolutely.
And ladies out there, that's just giving him the okay to do it himself. I know a lot of women want the men to initiate and lead more so than not, and that's perfectly fine, and I think part of nature. But you just got to create the invitations, and that may mean doing it first and having him feel safe to do that. And for everybody listening, really, it doesn't matter the gender, just do it first.
I love that. And, you know, you go by the heart guy, and it's so true. And I know Brene Brown, you know, I took this from her, that courage, like the root word of it is to really, you know, expose your heart, show your heart. That's being vulnerable. And that truly is what courage is. Like, that is sometimes the most courageous thing, to be like, here, like you said, my deepest, darkest secrets, and I want to share it with you. And I want to be able to feel good knowing that I can share this with you. And, you know, you're still going to love me. You know, you're still going to be here for me. And maybe even love me more, because now you have a deeper understanding of who I am and what I've been through, and how I start to see the world, and it can actually help your communication level as well.
Right. And I can hear some fears from people listening in right now. Well, what if I'm too much? Well, if you're too much for somebody, they're not enough for you. All right. And let's just call a spade a spade. So if you are too much, you start sharing, and they don't meet you at that emotional intelligence and that emotional level, then they're not compatible. Cool.
Yeah. Thank you. Next.
That's disappointing, but next. And then also, when it comes to intimacy, if you want to get close to somebody, intimacy is not just sex. It's a seed of the root of intimacy. So really getting to have those deeper conversations, knowing what you want, and sharing your vision and your life dreams with somebody, and sharing what you've been through, like sharing the story of it all, and coming from a accepted place within yourself. And again, how are they going to accept that? It's completely outside of your control. So it's just sharing and being vulnerable. And if they still choose to be with you then, and you still choose to be with them then, that's the connection. It's a choice.
I love that. It's kind of funny, totally like left field segue, but I went to a comedy club recently, and this comedian said, you know, instead of I do, we should just say, I get it, you know? I get it.
That's true.
And it's like the husband will be like, you know, I'm always going to know like the exact game where like the quarterback hit the, I don't know, I'm not a sports person, but like this exact game and the year it was and what happened. Yeah. But I may forget what our kid is. And the wife says, I get it. You know, like just having this level of like, I get it. It's so true. And I love what you said, you know, intimacy is not just sex. It's really exposing. It's being naked in that vulnerable sense, right?
Yes.
Absolutely. Right. Cool. Someone asked about cheating, right? So that could be triggering for some people. And really the question is like, what drives cheating? And also if you have, you know, had a partner who had cheated on you, how do you deal with that, you know, internally? How do you not turn it so much into mean something about you? And how can you heal from that and move on?
I'm just going to answer this from answer this from experience. The reason I became the heart guy is because 8 years ago now, almost 9, my ex-fiance cheated on me and dumped me. Mm-hmm. And then the 2 relationships after her cheated on me. And so it was a pattern that was showing up. And these 3 women were not cheaters. That was actually the first time each one of them had cheated. So it caused me to really look in the mirror and go, what am I doing to cause this? I co-created this experience, this relationship, and that's how it ended. So how did I not show up, or how did I show up that caused them to seek some of their needs out in another man? And so for me, it was a radical ownership. But then also,
I love what you just said. You took a little responsibility of like, how did I co-create this? Which is like this huge.
How did I show up? Because I was super needy, and I thought I was giving them everything that they needed, except for what they actually needed. We didn't really have those conversations, and so I was just pouring out, like giving so much love because I love you so much, but it wasn't maybe the type that how they would receive it, and those deep communications weren't there. The vulnerability in terms of openness of conversation wasn't there. I had a lot to learn, and I couldn't hold myself at that level. Right, I was neglecting me at such a deep level and putting a lot of stuff on them, and that was like from their mindset. They love me, but they're like, oh my god, this is too much. This guy is kind of easier. He doesn't need me. Okay, I'm going to go to him. It's having that. And then also, you know, I could have very easily labeled all women as cheaters, but I never did because I was really conscious with that. And I was like, no, that was individual instances and individual people, and not a gender is not one thing. So I'm not going to overgeneralize here. And I'm not going to quit early, really. That's what it is. If you overgeneralize a gender or that's a group of people just because of an experience, you're kind of quitting early. You haven't seen all of the however billion people there are in the world.
Right.
You know what I mean? So just because you had a little small experience of a few people when an instance or a situation in your life and where you were at on your journey doesn't make the whole that thing. So be careful of the beliefs that you have around it. And love is a forgiveness game. Mother Teresa said it best. If you want to learn to love, you must learn to forgive. And that means forgiving. And by the way, unconditional love isn't unconditional acceptance of bad behavior. So that's not just saying, oh, I forgive you and you can keep cheating on me. It's also loving even more, which also means, I call it putting some heart into it, which is showing up and loving that person to the capacity that you're loving them now. Yes. But loving even more, which means also loving yourself.
Yes.
Because a lot of times we relate to love and it's just kind of like, I'm going to love you even more. So I'm going to hold on to hope and I'm going to hold on to the stuff, and you're neglecting yourself. And you're not even realizing like you're suffering in order to get love. And that's not an equation that works out. It's what happens with the media, tons of movies about it, but that's seeped into our subconscious. I'm like, I have to sacrifice myself and struggle and prove myself and achieve love, when love isn't something you achieve. It's something that you just allow when you can be in that frequency. It's not something that you have to do anything for. Like, your heart's beating right now. You didn't do anything for it.
Boom. I love that. That is so, so, so powerful. Wow. That's huge. And I know you posted something recently about that, right? Like, it's not about unloving someone. It's about knowing to love yourself just as much, if not more, and putting yourself first and not neglecting that. Because, martyrdom doesn't equate to more, like, better love, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
And I will say, with going back to the cheating thing, like, what causes people to cheat is multiple stuff. Maybe lack of respect for themselves, or maybe they don't know what they want, or they're not honest with themselves about what they want. And it could also be, they're lying to themselves, so don't take it personal. I think, too, is an interesting way to look at it. It's like, take ownership, but don't take it personal. That's a conundrum. But also taking ownership and saying, okay, you know what? Like, I could have changed here. There could have been some things here. And learning to forgive is what's going to free you and to allow yourself to trust again. Because trust is only broken when it's retracted, and you're the one that controls that. I'm a super trusting, open person. Like, it, right? So I'm open because I don't ever retract my trust. And if somebody breaks that boundary or that trust, I can forgive. Then I just set a little bit firmer boundaries, but I still trust. Because I do view everybody as having the best interest at heart. And sometimes hurt people, but that doesn't make it okay. But it's that perspective is what's needed to love even more, and maybe love to a point of forgiveness, so that you can learn to trust again. And learning that holding on to grudges or resentment or anger, fear and shame and guilt and blame and all these other emotions is what's keeping you from the love life that you want.
Yeah. And you're speaking a lot into forgiveness, and forgiveness is so huge. And it takes it takes a big person to forgive. Is there anything to get closer to forgiveness? Is there anything you can do to get closer to allowing yourself to be able to forgive someone, and even forgive yourself? Right? So how do we do that? Sometimes we seem like it's so hard. How can I forgive? How can I forgive?
The act of letting go or forgiving is easy. It's your nature. The decision to do it is the hard part, because we're equating, if I forgive, it's going to mean all that was for nothing, or if I forgive, that'll mean to make it okay. If I forgive, that'll mean whatever we're making it to mean, and we're almost equating it in our nervous system to, like, if I forgive, then I'm going to die.
It takes a
because this was traumatic experience, so they deserve justice or whatever it is, right? And so the decision to let go is the hard part, not actually letting go, not actually forgiving. Look at a 2-year-old, right? 2-year-olds easily forgive. And so it's what you're making it to mean, and recognizing how holding on takes a lot more energy than letting go, and holding on to something that's not meant to be takes a lot more energy. But even if that's anger or a belief about your self-worth or whatever it is, or love, it's going to taint your experience. So that's why getting really clear on knowing what you want is really important, so that you can be like, what's getting in the way of that? And remove what's getting in the way of that. It's not about achieving it. It's about removing things. You're not doing things, you're removing things. So what's the belief that I have about love or myself or relationships that is getting in the way of me experiencing this type of a relationship? Subconscious beliefs. What are the subconscious stuff? And seeing that holding on is actually getting in the way of you kind of letting go of the good to provide space for the great. That's a huge thing. But you have to accept, number one, that's the reality of it. You're not together with this person anymore. They cheated on you or whatever. Don't jump timelines and try to, it was great back then and I want it to be great in the future. Acceptance of what is, and then the perspective that it's getting in the way of you seeing some major shifts in your life, and actually getting what you want. And then compassion, and knowing that hurt people, and seeing them through love's eyes and not through your own hurt ego is really important. To love that person that you once had an amazing connection with, and even if they cheated on you or whatever and it hurt you, it's choosing love over and over and over and over and over again, even if that hurts. And that's really what's going to build your character. And having more compassion towards them is how you then allow forgiveness. And you can see that perspective. But it's kind of like this process. I kind of laid out a lot of different things, and that's what I do with my clients, because it's not just like this, oh, I forgave them once, okay, we're good. Like, learn the lesson. And I think big thing, why was that person in your life? Well, if life is happening for you, cool, then what was your heart experiencing and learning in growing from in that experience, I should say. And when you can extract the lesson, you'll evolve past the pattern.
I love that. And I think that's so spot on, because there is always a lesson. And when you can get the lesson, there's a sense of like you won, right? There's improvement. Yeah. You can grow from that. You can do better next time. And also I think, compassion and losing the charge a little bit, right? So every time when you pick it back, we could let things go, but then we sometimes just pick it right back up. So when that does happen, try to allow yourself to lessen the charge of the emotions every time, right? Send that some more compassion. Okay. For whatever reason, their upbringing was different, and, that led them to do this, and I can have compassion for that because that is where they were at. And, subconsciously, we can use visualization so much to help us. So something I've done myself is just like, turn the image of the person into black and white, or fade it out, or move it away from myself, just to lessen the charge over and over again. And that's not to ignore it and to like push it out, but it's just to realize that, okay, like you said, there is a reality of what happened, what's the lesson, and start to, let go and like fade it out, because ultimately, like, that's what it was there for. It was a lesson. You can move on, and you deserve to allow yourself to move on.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
All right. I have one more question, and then I'm excited to kind of switch gears here. But one more question about when you're in relationships. And this question someone wrote in was how to fight fairly. So I'm going to ask how to get your point across, right? How to have good communication, because fighting fairly seems a little counterintuitive, I guess.
Yeah.
Fighting and fairness. So best tips for communication, getting your point across, and maybe in a more conscious, elevated way when there is a disagreement.
So whether it's fighting or abuse, sometimes that's what was shown to us as kids, and so we think that that's how we get love. So if we're fighting, then that means they love me, and that means I love them. So be aware of that if that's a pattern for whoever's asking this, and you're constantly in fights, that doesn't have to be a part of it, to the degree that you're asking this question. So be aware of that. It's not to say that you won't get in fights, but if it's happening a lot, it's because subconsciously you're equating getting in a fight to getting love, because that's what you grew up in. But having the right communication is how you'll evolve past that fight. So a lot of that is just you need to have awareness, and you need to give the other person awareness. Gather information for yourself. Get really curious about how you're showing up and what's the reality and the truth of all that's happening, which again was why self-awareness is so important. And then gather more information about them and how they're showing up, which is asking the right questions and giving them the right information. So all communication is exchanging of information. And if you can, with getting different perspectives with more awareness. Okay. So if you can do that in a healthy way, then the fights won't necessarily happen as much. It might be ego crushing to somebody, but you kind of come at this as a team instead of you versus the other person. So the wording on that, and I don't use a lot of templates or scripts or how to say things, but this is one that helps with the energy shift, is, hey, I know this isn't your intention, but when you do this, I feel blank. What can we do about it? Or, hey, I know this isn't your intention, but I'm feeling unseen, unheard, whatever it is. What can we do about it? Because then they're like, whoa, I didn't even know that's how you were feeling. Okay, well, I don't want you to feel that way. What can we do about it? Mm-hmm. And usually the compromise, quote unquote, is both people end up changing. So you have to, when you're doing this, you have to humble yourself and say, maybe I'm the one that has to change my behavior a little bit, or maybe I'm delusional and I'm expecting too much of this person. And then maybe they do have to change a little bit too. But so often when we're fighting, we want the other person to change to make us happy, to make our inner child happy and safe. And so the evolution is in both of you guys growing, not just the other person, which is usually when you're fighting, is you're wanting the other person to change.
Wow, that's major key right there. That's a major key. Because you're also like getting them off the hook. It's like, I know your intention isn't to do that, right? You're acknowledging them that it's just like, I know that's not what you mean to do, but for whatever reason, through my own personal history, this is how it's making me feel. So that's right. So major because sometimes people, fighting is like being attacked, right? So sometimes that's what it feels like. And you, by doing that, it's like, this isn't an attack on you, but I'm just letting you know how this is showing up for me. What can we do? And a team, right? What can we do? That's major. That's what a relationship really is. You know, partnership, it really is about a team, and it's not about who's right, who's wrong, because that's going to get you guys nowhere. What can we do together to get, to be in the relationship that we both know we can have? So that's snaps all day. Snaps all day. Cool. So that was fun. I know we bounced around a lot. Usually, I let the conversations be more fluid, but I got a lot of questions, and I really wanted to allow my community to, be here through their questions that they asked. But I have some questions for you. And this one is mostly about you just, you're in relationships all day, every day. And also not even just romantic relationships. I really see you as like a master communicator among all relationships, friendships, partnerships, business partnerships, romantic ones, family. Like you just know how to communicate, which is ultimately how you're relating with someone. So, but what my curiosity is, because you are mostly in romantic relationships, there's a lot of uprise when it comes to, exploring what it means to not just be monogamous. And a lot more people are exploring, what can it mean to be poly, or what can it mean to just have an open relationship? And we're seeing this more and more in the younger generations. So I'm curious just to get your thoughts on how that, how that shift might impact marriage down the line, or how that shift even came to be, and just like your thoughts overall on this real, like these societal norms of this is how relationships work, and this is how it is, and now how more people are open to exploring and like, hey, like maybe there's another way we never even realized. So I'm just curious your take on all the different types of relationships these days.
There's a lot here. I will say that's kind of the next evolution in terms of where humans are at, because the biggest one being the legalization of gay marriage, and that being more socially accepted. The poly thing and the open relationship thing is kind of coming next. It's still on the come up for the majority of society. We're more in the spiritual realm, and so most people are doing it then. I would say, though, kind of a giant word of caution to anybody who is poly or in open relationships, because I believe that for 95% of people that are doing it, it's a pattern of avoiding commitment and going deep with somebody. Because if you think about it, the 5 love languages, one of them is quality time. And if you have 5 partners, you can't give quality time to everybody. It's a lot to uphold. And so you can't really go deep with anybody. And so you're just getting a bunch of surface connection and getting your needs met that way. And then you end up wanting more surface connection because you're wondering why you're not still happy. And so you go for quantity, not quality. And that's really where it starts to suffer. But if you can do it, and if you're doing it with the right intention, where it's like, I love my partner, and my partner having sex with somebody else has nothing to do about me. And you've worked through that trauma, and you have open communication with your partner, and you can also have your freedoms within the communication. Communication's huge for it. There's a book called Ethical Slut, if you are in a poly or open relationship, that I highly recommend. But I would say most people are using it as like coming from a hurt place, and it's not actually what they want. They're just dating around. They're calling it an open relationship, and they're toying around with the idea, right? So most people, it's kind of coming from this hurt place, like I was saying. And the people that it is true and pure to them, they can actually do it. And I know people very closely who are open, and that's just who they are. And it is kind of coming from this pure place. I just think that it takes somebody to really do a lot of inner work to get to that spot and not be jealous, or not view the romance as this confined thing that with that marriage brought into our culture so long ago. So that marriage is kind of unraveling. I'll say that there's a lot of millennials aren't actually marrying. They're just becoming partners and saying husband and wife and getting a ring, but not legally doing it. And that's happening a lot, which is interesting. But I also, even with gay marriage and even with poly and open relationships, like if we can look at history just repeats itself. This happened with the Greeks and the Romans. They were very open and very sexual. So it's like recognizing that too, of like, this isn't something technically new. It's just new to our culture. And I think just being pure to what's true for you and knowing what you want. Do you want to be an open relationship? Do you want to just be with one person? Are you trying to be in an open relationship because you want to be with one person and they're in an open relationship? Like, what's going on here for why you even want that in the first place? This is really important, and I understand variety, but you can also have variety within one person if that person is married first and connected to themselves. So just experiencing the truth of that. I'm more just personally, I know in this time in my life, I've been in open relationships, and it didn't fly for me. I really do want to go deep with somebody. And like I was saying earlier, the open communication and the quality time is lacking and that's kind of the biggest problem in that community. But look at it. If you being poly or open relationship is creating this dynamic within the community of people being vulnerable and open form communication, and everybody's doing the deeper work and kind of evolving and healing and growing together, then great. If it's not, then, and you're talking behind the back, or this person's with this person and you're doing that, then it's not a good fit. So even within certain circles, it's just not healthy. Just like anything, you can abuse it. So just a giant word of caution, because it is this new shining thing. And when humans are like monkeys and we love new things, just be true to yourself is all I got to say.
I love it. That seems to be a deep theme throughout this entire podcast. Know what you want, be true to yourself. And that really does come first. We hear it all the time. It sounds corny, but man, is it true. It's so true. So thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I have one last question. And this question is, considering that this podcast is called Deep Convos Only, what is one deeper conversation you would love to see the world start to have?
What do you want?
Wow.
There's a lot of people that are just caught up in drama and don't actually know what they want.
Yeah. As a coach myself, it's interesting when you ask someone that, how often they go into what they don't want. And I'm like,
right.
That's cool. Good self-awareness. But like, okay, so now what do you actually want to affirm for yourself?
Yeah. So it's like, what do you actually want, and beyond just the short term?
Yeah. And dig deep in those questions, right? Like that's it's just one big question that you can, and why is that? And why is that? And why is that? Because is it to prove to your parents? Is that because that's what you think you should want? Or is like, what is it you truly deep down inside, just you want? So major.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Kevin. I adore you.
Thank you.
You are one of a kind. I can't say more about you. Where can people connect with you? How can they work with you? Where do they find you if they want to know more about your work and what you do?
Right now, everything's on the gram. Search The Heart Guy. I'll pop up. Links in my bio for a bunch of free stuff, or if you wanted to dive deeper with me and go through a course, that stuff's there. Also, if y'all are in LA, I have meetups in LA all the time, and I will be back on the road doing live events here soon. So be on the lookout for that.
Amazing. Follow this man, The Heart Guy. His content is stellar. He does a lot of live streams. He does a lot of he's always giving value, literally. He doesn't do anything for fluff. He gets right into the heart of things. So thank you so much, Kevin. I adore you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Deep Convos Only. I'd love to keep this conversation going even deeper. So let me know what your biggest takeaway was on Instagram. Follow me at It's Monica Adams. And for other conscious goodies and events, head to itsmonicaadams.com. Until next time, stay blessed.